Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup. Today it's time to take a look at the fabled Seoul Dynasty. So, the Seoul Dynasty came into last season off the back of being known as Lunatic High. And Lunatic High were incredibly successful in South Korea. At the time, best team in South Korea, without a doubt. Lunatic High dominated most of the stuff, apart from the old dash of Kongdu Panthera. But something went wrong. They came to the Overwatch League. They got known as Seoul Dynasty. We all expected them to romp it, go and win it, and be our first year's champions. And they ended up finishing 8th. They didn't even qualify for the playoffs. Something went incredibly wrong at Seoul, and they've decided it's time to fix that. There has been a massive restructuring of Seoul Dynasty in the off-season, with the staff restructure coming first. Hokuri moved from a coach to a general manager, and then rebuilt the coaching staff, which is now made up of KDG as a head coach, Changun as an assistant coach, who was coach of the London Spitfire, who won the Blimmin' League last season, and Why Not, who is also an assistant coach. Very interesting. Needed to be done, I guess. And Seoul are basically a different team, apart from their roster is not massively different as you might have expected though. They are still sticking with much of what Lunatic High gave to them. So, what's happened in the off-season for Seoul? Basically, we're going to run from when Bunny was transferred to the Valiant mid-season. Gambler retired in August. Wekid was let go and he's now with MVP Space in Contenders. Guido has left and is now part of the Washington Justice, more on them later on. Miro has also retired from the old Lunatic High roster. Zephyr is now moved to Florida Mayhem, and Kuki is now with the Los Angeles Valiant, as we both have looked at in previous videos. So they had to be replaced. Now, the retentions from last season are Zunba, Rouge Hong, Toby, Fletter, and Munchkin. I don't think you can really argue with that. Fletter was fantastic early in the season. Munchkin is a very good DPS. Toby's a very good support. Rouge Hong is Rouge Hong. And Zumba is a very good flex. So, this left Seoul Dynasty with an issue. No main tank, which was basically their issue at the end of last season. They ended up playing Rouge Hong on main tank at one point, so they needed to sort it out. Who did they get in? The most handsome man in the Overwatch League. The most handsome main tank. It's Fisher. So, Fisher signs for his 3rd Overwatch League team, the only person to do so far, after being at London Spitfire and the Los Angeles Gladiators. Fisher is a very, very good main tank. Can he stay at Seoul for ages? Who knows, because he can't seem to settle anywhere. But everywhere Fisher has been, apart from the exception here is London, because London didn't really play Fisher as much as they perhaps would have done if they didn't have Gesture, because Gesture is kind of better in London's eyes. So Fisher left London, but when he joined Gladiators, it's undoubtable that he made a massive, massive difference to their roster. And I think he could have the same effect for Seoul here, especially as there's no having to like push him into this roster. They are all South Korean. They are going to speak South Korean. They're not going to need any translator or anything. He's just going to click, hopefully, for the Seoul Dynasty, and I think that's what they're hoping. So that's a pretty good signing, right? But we knew about Fisher quite a while back. He was already with Seoul come the All-Stars weekend, so we kind of knew about Fisher already. Now we have to look at their 4 new signings. For each different role, they've got a new flex, a new main tank, a new support, and a new DPS. The first of these is a new flex. That is Michelle. Now, I don't know whether I'm saying that or not, because that is actually a woman's name in this country, but I'm going with it. So, they have signed him from Lucky Future Zenith. Lucky Future Zenith have been very good in Contenders. This is Contenders China, not Korea. Remember that. There is a difference in the Asian region. But still very good. he's been at the top of his game since 2017, winning a lot of competitions with the teams he's played with. He has a lot of money in the bank in terms of total earnings. He is a flex. Again, very good signing. And it's a bit of competition for Zumba. I still think they'll start with Zumba, to be quite honest. Although I think they did start him for the Pacific Challenge, didn't they, Seoul? When they took on Guangzhou. Because there's been a few, like, what's the word? Showcase matches before the Overwatch League season, because there is no preseason, remember. Next up is Marv 1. He is going to be a main tank for the Seoul Dynasty. I would imagine he will be behind Fisher in the roster. I don't know for certain. Again, they've signed him from Lucky Future Zenith in Contenders China. So he's going to have a lot of synergy with Michelle. I like this. A flex and a tank on the same wavelength is pretty good. So that's really interesting. I would imagine Fisher will start, because if Fisher doesn't start, he'll leave. It's as simple as that. Because Fisher wants to start. That's why he didn't stay at London. So I'd imagine your starting tank line for Seoul will be Fisher and Zumba. And then for teams that are lower down in the league, perhaps, they'll play Michelle and Marv 1. But it remains to be seen what Seoul do with this. Next up is, I'm not sure how to say this, so I'm going to say Jexy or Jesse. It's Jecse. He is a support for the Seoul Dynasty now. He will come in replacement of Guido, who they lost to the Washington Justice. Again, I wouldn't really expect him to start. He comes from Element Mystique in Contenders Korea. They're a very decent team in Contenders Korea. In Season 2, they lost out to Runaway. More on Runaway in a few videos' time, because they could be a big part of this season. But he's known for his Lucio, Mercy, and Anna. Very decent support, but I really don't expect him to start above Rujay, Hong, and Toby, because they were pretty good. It's just the synergy of the team just didn't work for some reason last season. Lastly, we have Fitz. Fitz is a new DPS for the Seoul Dynasty. This is an interesting one, because he's much like Krillin for the London Spitfire. He's a bit of an unknown to me, and I think a lot of people. He was playing for Going Water S in Contenders Season 3 Trials in Korea, where they didn't get through. So, yeah, he must have something about him. He wouldn't be picked up otherwise. But, again, I wouldn't expect him to start in front of Munchkin and Fleta. I think Seoul are looking to play Munchkin and Fleta pretty much all the time. Pretty much like London did last season, where they just played Birdwing and Prophet until they couldn't play Birdwing because he was injured. I think this is where Seoul Dynasty want to go with this. I don't think they want to flex too much, apart from perhaps their tank line. They want to have a consistent 6-man that they put out a lot of the time. And they don't want to fiddle with their supports or DPS. Pretty good. I like that consistency within a team. Normally means good things. And they kind of be throwing in like the mid-table sort of games at the moment. We're looking at Seoul's first 4 games as the Los Angeles Gladiators, which I think for this Seoul roster is entirely winnable. It will be a close game though, I would imagine. Then we have Seoul Dynasty versus Dallas. Now that's normal. That was the marquee game coming into the first season of the Overwatch League, because that was basically Lunatic High versus Team Envious, which was a big game before the Overwatch League era. It was an amazing first game, but then both teams kind of tailed off and it became a bit of a nonsensical sort of competition. I expect that to be quite a game. I cannot pick a winner between Seoul and Dallas, because Dallas have also improved quite well. Maybe Seoul might edge it. Then we get Seoul versus Chengdu Hunters. I would expect Seoul to beat Chengdu Hunters, and I would also expect Seoul to beat Boston Uprising, which is who they have after that. So then they have a big test going up against NYXL. That's when you really know where Seoul are in this roster, whether they've sorted it out in the off-season or not. But I think it's promising for Seoul Dynasty, especially with the addition not only of the new players, right? I think Fisher's a good signing because he's a consistent main tank, providing they can keep him happy. But also, the addition, I think, might go under the radar of people who just watch Overwatch League for its face value and its players. But Changoon, the coach they've signed from the London Spitfire, he was a very vocal voice in the London Spitfire in their inaugural season. And he has experience of winning the league. So I think he could be the best signing Seoul have made this summer. Or this off-season, sorry. So, yeah. I think Seoul are in a pretty good place from what they've done. It just remains to be seen whether Seoul can implement this roster and get it playing. Because you would have looked at Seoul's roster last season and said, they're really good, they're going to be right up there, and they weren't. So, it remains to be seen if this Seoul roster can then get down and get games won. That's the only reservation I have again about Seoul. I definitely think they've improved though. Definitely think they've improved. They could. I mean, this roster is quite capable of actually winning the entire league. It depends whether they can get them playing. But I believe with their new backroom staff and their coaches and that I think they've really taken a step in the right direction to try and mount a challenge for the league. But that is the Seoul Dynasty for the new season of the Overwatch League. Man, we're getting through them. There's only 4 left. Now, next up is the infamous Shanghai Dragons. That is going to be a long video because they're not the Shanghai Dragons anymore, basically. They're basically a new team. And then the 3 videos after that are all new teams. It's Toronto Defiant, Vancouver Titans, and Washington Justice. So they're going to be fairly lengthy. The next 4 videos are going to be perhaps longer than this one is. But we are getting towards the end of it. I'll reiterate then we have Power Rankings video after the Washington video. And then after that we'll have our intro into the first week of the Overwatch League Stage 1 2019. Oh, videos coming at you. Get subscribed if you want these videos. If you don't, then don't, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.